By now, you've had a chance to install Zen Server and take a visual tour of some of the features that are available in the Zen Server product. In this video, we're going to evaluate 3 sets of technologies that are available to help you troubleshoot your application in development time or in production. You see in front of you the default instance of the Zen Framework 2 application. I've installed this demo application and configured it as an app inside Zen Server. So if I go ahead and access the Zen Server user interface, first thing that we see here is sort of a dashboard view of what's going on our server and our applications. So these sections down here refer to events, so we're going to look at events in the next section. Right now we're looking at this top section starting with the overview tab. Notice it gives us some information about number of requests per second, average response time. We can look at different time periods. Now in the free version you get 2 hours, and at some point when you need more than 2 hours you can upgrade to one of the paid versions of Zen Server. So we get requests per second, average response time, and those 2 pieces of information can be very useful when evaluated together. If we see one increasing disproportionately to the other, then we might know that we have a bottleneck somewhere. Next, we'll click on the System Health tab. Notice this gives us a processing breakdown. It also shows us number of events. This is just running on my local laptop, so we're not going to see those events unless I'm actually running the app. I can expand this so I can get a fuller view of this graph, and notice it gives us a breakdown how much of our response time is being taken by PHP execution, disk I/O, network I/O, database functions. Next we can look at system utilization. So this tells us active PHP sessions, CPU usage, average memory usage. So if our users are experiencing a slowed down experience on our application, this gives us at a glance a way to check, is the CPU pegged? Are we out of memory on the box? Etc. Not so much necessarily for troubleshooting, but also interesting information. Usage statistics about where the requests are coming from. Mobile usage as well. So telling us how much of our app's traffic is based on mobile usage versus desktop usage. And then some mobile statistics. Right, so it will tell us, we can do some comparisons between our regular usage and mobile statistics and see if our mobile app is performing disproportionately to when a desktop browser is accessing our application. So just a quick collection of data. You can take some time and look at all of the tabs and see just how much information is available simply at the click of your mouse. Next, we'll have a drill down into this eventing mechanism and see how powerful that can be. Zen Server provides a very rich eventing mechanism which provides you quick insight into both your application and the servers that it runs on. Troubleshooting can be very difficult in development and especially in production. Zen Server has this eventing mechanism which can really help. So you'll notice here that there are a collection of events that are displayed. Notice a PHP error, a function error, a custom error. We'll look at that in a minute. Slow request execution, high memory usage. So notice here, this will tell me that this particular file, mtrig.php, caused a high memory usage condition. So I can dive down into that PHP file and see what it is that I've done in code that might be causing that high memory usage. Slow request execution is another one that's interesting. I actually had a problem on the DevZone site where some users were experiencing very slow page load times and others weren't for the same file. And what it turned out was that we had enabled a feature by which Zen's DevZone members could upload avatar files, but there was no restriction on the size. So some folks had taken 16 megapixel photos of themselves and uploaded them. They were being scaled down to little 300 by 300 images, but those images were causing a lot of page load time because they were so large. And so it wasn't actually PHP execution that was causing that particular set of problems, but they were being loaded from inside a PHP page. It was a slow request execution event that helped me very quickly get pointed to the problem, and just a little bit of code allowed me to set a maximum size for those images that could be uploaded. So if we go look at application and select monitoring rules, you can see here I have 3 sets of rules. I have these 2 demo applications, and then I have a set of global rules. So these are the standard global rules, right? We can have custom events database. I'll let you look through all of them, right? And of course we can set specifics on how we want them to be handled. So maybe we want to say a slow request execution is not 5,000 milliseconds. Maybe we want to say it's 2,000 milliseconds or 3,000 milliseconds. Right? So we get a bunch of global rules to start with, and then we can configure them as we like. Let's also go look at the ones that are specific to an application. So here you can see, in addition to the global rules that apply to all of the applications running on the server, this specific app has been configured to have some additional rules. Right? So you see some of the standard rule types: a PHP error, high memory usage. Let's look at this custom error. And one of the things we want to note here is this description here that says this custom event is triggered when an API function Zend monitor custom event is called from inside PHP code. So I can get very specific about when this event gets triggered, and then I can specify, is it critical, is it a warning, or is it a notice? In this case it's a notice. I can turn on code tracing, which we're going to look at next, and I can specify send an email or call a URL, and I can specify which one, what email to send here, and what URL to call here. So that makes things really powerful. Not only can I send an email with the details. So, for example, if I'm supporting a production application and something goes wrong, I can get an email on my mobile device, or I can call a URL, which points to a PHP file, which can basically do anything that I can implement programmatically. So the ability to define custom events and then specify custom actions for those events can be really powerful in production, but also using the callback URL, we can implement facilities that help us during development time, especially for larger applications as well. And the last of the 3 troubleshooting feature groups that we're going to look at is code tracing. So for example, let's choose this PHP error item. I can expand it, and it gives me some details. Right, so it's in this file, the mtrig.php file. Here's the server it was running on. So because if you're using the free version, you can only monitor one server at a time, but the paid versions allow clustering, so you can have multiple servers defined in a single admin UI. Here it's going to tell us this is the function that was called that caused this problem. This is the type, it was an e-warning. The error string, file get contents var fails to open a stream, no such file or directory. If I click on more details, it's actually going to let us drill right down into the code. So notice that here are the backtrace with the event tree, the actual lines of code, and here's the actual PHP code. So I can very quickly jump in and have a look at the code that caused that problem. Notice here that I have functional data, error data, the server variables, the request variables, some routing information, and then down here, if you're a Zen Studio user, we have a collection of integrated features for Zen Studio users that I can actually debug the event. So I can click on the debug the event button, for example, and it will fire up Zen Studio and enter me into a debugging session, so I can debug this in real time on my development machine. So just a quick look at 3 of the facilities that are available in Zen Server to help you troubleshoot. By no means is that an exhaustive list of the things that are available to help you with your troubleshooting and debugging, but that's 3 facilities: system statistics, events, and code tracing that can help you very quickly increase your productivity and decrease your troubleshooting time in PHP applications using Zen Server.